Are live, and this is Trekland HQ. Oh, and I said it already. We are live. Prodigy, the subversive Star Trek. Today on number 281 of Trekland Tuesdays Live with me, Dr. Trek, Larry Nemechek, coming at you here from Portal 47, right through the heart of Trekland for some sanity, clarity, and the big picture in all things Star Trek. Hey, welcome back for another Tuesday, everybody. Again, glad you found your way here. If you are a regular Tuesday TTLer, jump in the chat there. And if you are new, welcome. I'm glad you found your way here. Introduce yourself. Let us know where you're from. I'm going to get off on my soapbox topic here for a little bit. And then we will come back around for a look at the Parrot Analytics TV rating service to get a handle on things, Trek. And then we will dive into your chat. Sorry, I've been a little distracted. It's been a little distracting. I hope everyone had more treats than tricks. And my gosh, here it is November. The year is crashing to a close. Here in the US, we have a big election next week. All that to be said, let's talk about Star Trek. And not quite the same old angle that you're used to seeing everywhere else, where it's just news headline, news headline, news headline. So thanks everybody for joining me again on a Tuesday. Once again, I'm going to aim for an hour here, so I'm going to get through the soapbox, and we will take a short break, do our parrots, and then I will get to the best of the chat. So everybody, please, hello, welcome. Find each other, but then I'm going to look for questions, especially at the end. Okay. And once more, if you're coming to us on Facebook, you're only seeing the Facebook questions, although that's most of them. If you're on YouTube and Twitch, you're seeing everybody's questions. Okay. And of course, if you're watching us later, you're only going to be able to comment live in YouTube when you see us later on YouTube. But I invite you to come join us some Tuesday live when you can. What do I mean, Prodigy, the most subversive Star Trek? Well, I don't mean Prodigy is trying to overthrow any planetary Earth government in 2022. That's not what I mean. What I mean is it's the most subversive of the Star Treks, I think, if nothing else, because it's not getting the respect that all the other Star Treks get, including its animated sibling, Lower Decks. How do I say that? Well, we can look at it in a little bit, but for one thing, the Parent Analytics streaming numbers that reflect online activity, if that's an accurate reflection, and it's as good as any, aren't quite there. And I imagine if we even had the key to the vault of all the numbers at Paramount Plus, we'd probably find that Prodigy was getting the smallest audience of all the Star Treks. I wonder if it's getting a smaller audience than any of the Legacy series, even, for numbers. And I'm just here to say, look, if you've known me very long, you know that I'm a big champion of the underdog. I would always prefer my Sooners to be an underdog. I will always root for McCoy and Scotty. I will always root for the Tellarites. Used to, the Andorians, they got star power. Thank you, Jeffrey Combs. But no, I've always been a big root of, and I guess maybe that's why I'm a little attracted to Prodigy. Well, that and the ability to sit down and watch it with Cadet Alice when we can. That's awesome. But no, even week to week, I'm starting to see it's amazing not only what Prodigy is doing, but how a lot of the rest of the world isn't paying attention. I mean, that's what I mean by subversive. Here's the thing. I would almost say that Prodigy is still ramping up, but it's getting to the stage now here in this second half of the first season where they may be packing more plot and plot potential per half hour than anyone else. And I say that even with the manic pace, again, of sister series Lower Decks. And that's not a knock on Lower Decks. Lower Decks is very happy where it sits. I'm talking about some of the groundbreaking threads that are threading through Prodigy. And I think I always tell you to watch the socials of all the creators. And I think there's been hints out there once or twice from what some of the what some of the creators on Prodigy are doing, what Aaron Walke, what the Hageman brothers, Bill Wolkoff, what some folks are getting into. But I think they're relishing being the underdog as well. To wit, this I was calling it the season 2 premiere for a couple of with Cadet Alice. And if you're not watching us, please go over and like and subscribe to the YouTube channel. We're having a lot of fun, and I'm very proud of my granddaughter. I think she's a smart cookie, and she amazes me sometimes with the things that come out of her mouth, as they say. Out of the mouths of babes, oft-time come gems. And sometimes, once or twice, she's caught me on something. So it's easy to do that on Prodigy because it's so disarming. It's not just for the kids, although it's perfect for them. It's a great entree into Star Trek, and that's what it's designed to do. But it's not meant to leave the parents behind. It's not even meant to be leaving behind the adults without kids. And there is no shame with that's what I'm here to tell you. Don't take it for granted and don't write it off. That's why I'm plugging the underdog. For example, the Janeway Chakotay. Where are the J Sears? What? Where is this Janeway Chakotay plot going? And I don't think they're going to be back in a bathtub anytime soon. But come on, if you're longing to see them back together, this is your best on-screen thread to do it. It may even turn out to be such an exercise in not just reunion and nostalgia, but is there really an underground campaign to get a live action Janeway of some format going again? Wow. I mean, it could be in years hence that the biggest contribution Discovery made to the franchise, aside from representation, maybe launching Strange New Worlds. We'll have to see. But I have high expectations for Discovery's 5th season from a couple of rumblings I'm heard. So I'm really excited for it. It could yet again be a whole new different tone of series, but that's okay. Discovery, it'll be the chameleon of Star Treks. But we're talking about Prodigy. I almost said Protostar. We're talking about Prodigy. There's that. If nothing else, the J Sears have something to watch and pay attention to. What is this super weapon fulfilling? It's almost like the promise of Picard's threat against the Borg with a nanovirus. Other times when it's cropped up, a computer virus, the one that attacked the Enterprise through Captain Varley's ship. 2nd season, Next Generation. I mean, we've had dalliances with a computer virus, and that's what the Diviner, the bad guy, the bad dad, as we say on Cadet Alice, that's what the Diviner had planned for his retribution revenge plot. And I got to say, I'm feeling more for all the criticism that the Burn plot took. The Burn was really enjoyable as a dramatic device for its implications and ramifications. It was a lot of fun to see how the Burn had kind of forced the Vulcans and Romulans together, how it had shown us a new angle on humans and the Sol system and Trill. I mean, revisiting a lot of that and then watching them come back together. The core reason, the alien kid that screamed at the wrong time in the wrong place, is always going to feel a little flimsy, if nothing else, because maybe that should have been a 2-parter plot, not the whole season. But it wasn't really the whole plot of the whole season. And I'm saying that the ramifications and the way the Burn played out were a lot more entertaining than finding out about the Burn itself. I think most people would appreciate that. Just seeing Orions and Andorians running around was kind of a breath of fresh air, much less this whole new 800 years in the future, which it was married to, right? Okay. I guess that's what I'm saying. The new milieu was just as fascinating as the reason for it. Well, here we've got a chance to revisit the old super virus that's going to kill everybody. And one person's revenge, will the Diviner come up to a level that rivals Khan? Is that possible with animation versus live action, with an icon versus something that was just developed 3 years ago? I'm not going crazy, but I'm saying for all the revenge plots, Anorax, I'm looking at you, the vengeance plots, from Year of Hell, Voyager, of course. I don't know. But I'm saying that the way it's being threaded out might be the envy of all the modern series. Because it's getting more, we're adding in it's not just the kids versus the diviner. Now we've got real Janeway going to legitimately hunt the lost protostar with missing Chakotay, which is all wrapped up in the diviner's plot, which is involving time travel. Oh my gosh, Cadet Alice was right there with the time travel. He's pulling a Borg, trying to short circuit history to alter history. He's trying to short circuit. He's pulling a Xindi, except the Xindi weren't really harmed. They were just power mad. And okay, and they were just expansionist. They were what? Divine what's yeah. It's their destiny to rewire normal space to live for them. But there's an expansionist plot there that's Xindi-esque. Let's go beat them before they have a chance to harm us. Even though the harm was on you guys, not on us, we think. But I think these layers of implication, both on the personal side, and oh my God, Dal and Gwen are just loaded. Life Support Live, we barely scratched the surface when Dr. and Ali were looking at this. The personal and we barely scratched the surface of what's going on for like Jaglom. And yes, we now know, spoilers, that Murph is a Meloidian slime word, which boy, the award for the one-off piece of dialogue from a billion years ago into a living, breathing entity now, that award goes to Prodigy. And Aaron, you and your little it's been a canon. It's a canon species that we've heard of before. Well, okay, seen before, heard of are two different things, because it was just it was a throw off topic, a line drop. But okay, we got Murph, and we know Murph's going to molt or something. So that'll be interesting to watch. This reset also brought us back to the furthest expanse of the Federation toward the Delta Quadrant. That was amazing. We see the architecture. It's so cool. It reminds us of some of the canon stations before. Okay, that's fine. We get a Denobulan. Cool. A Denobulan who likes cosplaying Maquis. Apparently, the Maquis pips have been retconned to be provisional for all uses, though, because they're starting to pop up around. So fine. Maybe Janeway engineered that too, and Starfleet adopted it. It has been a few years. It's been 4, 5, 6 years. So we've got this Denobulan, which is funny, but he's not a boob. He's there pretty much. He's on the line between being bumbling bureaucrat, but also loves saying "Space, the Final Frontier," which was a cute moment with the kids to remind you. Barnes Frex, though, any relation to Barney Fife? I couldn't help wonder. I got to ask the guys themselves. But yeah, good on him. And Denobulan, fine. What was cool was watching in what almost felt like a reset. This almost felt like, and I'm sure a 10-episode arc, the last episode 10 felt like it could have been the end of a series. They put the bad guy out to pasture, and they've got the run of the ship, and everything's hunky-dory. Aside from, that whole Gwen and her lapsy memory thing. But this starts off bang with a teaser in cinematic form, the way Insurrection did, but the way the JJ movies do, almost like an old school tag at the beginning in your red treed forest with the yellow natives, or the little guys. Started off with we just plunge into a teaser with a mission. We get all the exposition inside the aqua pod that they have. Where did that come from? Okay, I guess that vessel replicator can do anything. And we find out that they'd been collecting brownie points to go back with their master plan of finding the Federation again. Cool. In hearkening back to Star Trek 4. Okay, fine. As Cadet Alice called them, the mermaid aliens was cool. But again, most plot per half hour. But it's almost been like a reset because you get so much exposition. If you go back and listen to it, they're all repeating the basic setup. It's almost like the reworked second pilot of Firefly. It's almost like everything you need to know about the characters. You're not getting the colorfulness of the mystery unraveling as we learn about them through the first 10 episodes, but you're getting almost someone could sit down and watch this episode and get the backstory for the kids. Then again, for those who have been watching the 10 episodes and we've been reading the press guides and the weekly, we know that Janklum's a Tellarite. It is a great reset to watch them go through the bioscanner and be told what they are, because the kids, it brings it home that the kids were all kidnapped, yanked away from parents or situations, and not even know who they are. And of course, not be able to communicate without translators until the big breakout. So to see Jankum find out he's a Tellarite that we know, and we are almost forgetting that he didn't know he was. And then to go, oh, okay, Zero, okay, yes, they know about Medusans, fine, don't have to take him out of the bubble. We learn what Murph is there, melanoid slime worm, cool. Big mystery's over. Oh, but then again, now we've got the discovery of watching Murph and filling in a few factoids. And Brickar comes to it. First time a book species has been made canon on screen. I mean, she already was, but now it's really out there, and no big deal to existing canon is represented by Barney Fife, Barnus Frex. And then Gwen comes through, fine, nobody knew, because apparently the first contact that her dad is so upset about has still to come, which is part of the thing that's dawning on everybody. We saw the flashback basically right about the same time as Best of Both Worlds. The star date worked out to the end of 67. Or end of 67, beginning of 68. So there's Solem, her father's world, is fully populated and fully functioning and hasn't met, which again is the Zindi type plot that her father's trying to travel time and mess up the Federation, destroy it with this massive computer virus weapon, which you saw in full blast as it decimated this system. Spoilers. So it was expected that there had been no first contact yet. That was the Diviner's plan, so the computer had no record of her. What was interesting was Dal's. We still do not know what species he is, little tailhead, colorful friend. But whatever it is, set off a trigger. I mean, my God, that was an Omicron particle type trigger. Go see Starfleet Command. He wasn't to be arrested. He was just ordered to report to Starfleet Command, which was an interesting wrinkle there. Nothing went off that opened up a secret directory for poor little Lieutenant J.G. Frex there. He wasn't given an Omega directive, nothing on that level, but it was still red alert level. But of course, he didn't have time to take it. Then we get this. Then we get to switch over. We finally hear Janeway's Dauntless crew talk besides her Jamil star. Do you know who's so? David David is the voice of Commander Tysus, who's the Andorian first officer. And Jason, did I say David Diggs? And Jason Alexander, yes, George Costanza, noted Trek fan, as seen in the think tank, and also the PR ceremony for the Borg ride back in the day at Star Trek Las Vegas, which there are pictures, there are tapes. But super nerd fan, Trek nerd, Jason Alexander, who you would never know by listening to him, is Dr. Noom, who's the Tellarite doctor. So subversive that we've got two speaking Tellarite roles. And will those two ever interact once Janeway interacts with the Protostar kids? Well, we'll see. We'll see. Us first-time Canon Point hunters will be looking for that. But kudos on Jason Alexander. He's totally pitched a low voice there for his Tellarite doctor, Dr. Noom. Had 2 or 3 lines. Both he and David finally had speaking lines, which is another subversive part of this. Look at the overlap audience. Jason Alexander, uh, uh, Daveed Diggs, Broadway, and then Jamila from her influencer circle. Look at the potential. Now, you might say that's crass casting, but it could be very smart. If the whole point of Prodigy is to bring in new eyes, they don't all have to be kids, but they could be, kids paying attention. So if you have the Hamilton circle and you have the Seinfeld circle from Jason Alexander and his Broadway underpinnings, and then Jamila, and she was doing publicity for the show. That doesn't hurt. Interesting to see what more builds up out of Janeway's crew. But most of all, the flashback scene, which wasn't even a flashback, it was a holodeck. It was a holotape. Her and Chakotay again. So yeah, Robert Beltran's out there voicing it. He's wearing everyone else has the future, which used to be the future fantasy badge, but now it's all these entities, which is a canon point. How did all these entities, how did Barash know the future badge for everybody wearing that future badge, as seen in the bent back, unused future time thread from the Elder Admiral Janeway's future at Endgame, the Voyager stuff. There's going to be an interesting philosophical dynamic there about fake futures that may not be so fake. They may be, we're not visiting alternate futures, we're visiting adjacent futures and adjacent time streams, because we keep coming back across the comm badges that were from anyway. But she has a recording of that ceremony and that goodbye, which was interesting to watch. And Chakotay, yes, is wearing the badges that were replicated for the Protostar kids and for holodeck Janeway. He's wearing that. So when Janeway does find the crunched badge that the diviner crunched from Gwen, from Dal, she knows it's the Protostar badge, not just that it's a comm badge. And she immediately, of course, thinks Chakotay. That's what she would think. The final touch here might be that not only are they chasing the kids with cross impressions of each other, but then they find the diviner. So yes, so John Noble is still going to be part of the cast, voicing his character. Now, is he going to be memory adrift and innocently help them find the Protostar, or is he going to be very much in touch with his memories and use Janeway's good intentions, as the best villains do, as the most vengeance-seeking adversaries do, who all believe they're right, by the way, the best ones. No cardboard cutout villains here. Is he going to use Janeway and her pro crew on her hunt for Chakotay to get the Protostar's weapon out? Oh my God. I mean, we've been talking here for 20 minutes about a kids show with implications. We're bearing down. We're 5-6 years away from the synth attack on Mars. We're spoilers, the kids are finding the Borg this week. That's out in all the preview, or some aspect of Borg life, which, of course, the Janeways are going to be full up on. But that's the bottom line also, is they're rolling out all kinds of canon here. Not just that we know now what a melanoid slime worm looks like, or that we've got 2 Tellarites in the same cast. We've got Tysus as an Andorian. Okay, fine. Essentia is a Trill. That's Jamila's character. But we're going to find out that Chakotay was going to take the Protostar and go re-explore the Delta Quadrant. So that whole concept about when does Starfleet get re-engaged has been answered. And how long has CR721 been out there? It's not too far for the kids to hop over and find it. Is it beyond even the Delta Quadrant, Beta Quadrant boundary, or is it just this side of the Delta Quadrant in the Beta Quadrant? Got to look and see. Got to see what our mapping friends are doing there, or what everybody's intention was. Because this also located Tars Lamora in the Carina Nebula, which is a real astronomical event. It's big, 8,200 light years away, but now we even, as if they didn't already, and I know they did, they had Tars Lamora all plotted out. And I'm sure Dr. Aaron was in there helping everybody do it. But there's lots of layers going on here. And not just for week to week, but long-term layers. And so I'm saying they're weaving a tapestry here of a streaming show, and maybe somehow it's easier to do that with a cartoon than it is live action. I don't know. And then thinking about going back through, one moment really struck me. The kids even had their insurrection moment as they leaped off and played anime characters and missed it. And yeah, and someone someone asked me the other day how lucky it was. Oh, I know it was. It was Cadet Alice. Alice noticed that how lucky it was that the transporter wouldn't work, but the tractor beam did. And I was like, God, what a smart kid. That totally got by me. Listening on the second listen, though, Janeway says it's not so much the control system as it is the physical emitters when the phasers are going bonkers with the computer virus. So yeah, the Protostar's phaser emitters have been damaged, and will that get repaired by the next episode? But apparently, the tractor emitters. You know, those long square. Classically, they look like a football field, only in light mint green, a pistachio light green. They look like yellowish green, gridirons on the hulls of ships. That the transporter emitters had been damaged, but apparently the tractor beam emitter was fine. It's a distinction, but nobody said anything about the tractor beam when they're litanying off all the damage caused by the station amok. But good on Alice for figuring that out. That's to say, though, you've got TikTok, Rock Talk, doing more advanced math in her head, figuring out the calculus to try to get them over, and then they do barely miss. Yay on Star Trek for not having it be a perfect hit, but even more heroic for Janeway to pull them in, as a smart command hologram training item would do. But after all that was said and done, and the premise for what's set up now, I think the morality police, the Star Trek ethos folks, I've got a question. I haven't sat down to start digging through, but it struck me at the moment, and then even more so when I went back. Now, yes, Barnes Frex might really be a Barney Fife, although I don't think he's that caricature. But I don't think Barney Fife was the caricature people made him out to be. And we're talking Andy Griffith, of course. But he did not share the escape pod from the station. Have we ever had a Starfleet person, even with people he suspected to be criminals, and of course he had no real proof aside from his world was crashing in around him, and he'd been a little alone for a while, apparently. Have we ever had a case? I'm not talking about Archer and the famous airlock incident, because those were aliens and people he had just met. And he did go a little bonkers in that scene, but I'm talking about people wearing a Starfleet uniform that had just been met with a guy who had suspicions. Was he the first time a Starfleet officer refused to allow people into an escape pod from an obviously fatal situation? I don't know. But what I do know is ethical questions like that, talking about Gwen being a clone of her dad, which got interesting for a moment if you've watched Cadet Alice. But she was winning. I was the one with the concern. She was just fine. But, we talk about the original animated series, TAS, injecting things like euthanasia and and a Satan character, if that's indeed what he was. We talk about some of these subversive themes that the animated series inserted on Saturday morning, and I'm just going to say, not so much about controversial, but really tough things to inject here about kids and parents, or about kids accepting. Dal hugging Janeway, that was a moment. That was a moment for the character, but it was a moment for the show. It was a moment for holograms, the Doctor notwithstanding. I'm just saying, I I think this may be the most subversive Star Trek yet, as far as being the Star Trek you didn't expect to see or get or reel you in. So yeah, I'll be watching. I hope you'll be watching. And if you haven't given Prodigy a shot, you ought to. It's gorgeous. I can't think. I mean, they pay so much attention to recreating even in 3D animation. It's become a beloved joke on Lower Decks just how amazingly they recreate canon objects, sometimes from the wrong century, but it's still cool. And Prodigy's doing the same thing, including giving you ocudograms that are easy to read intentionally at times. No, that's it. I'm sticking up for the underdog. The underdog is the cast and the creators and the punch, the impact that and you know what? Just like Voyager we intellectually understood it, or even DS9. DS9 and the portrayal of a black father and his son. Like Voyager portraying a woman in command surrounded by a lot of really competent women. Not that that had not happened before, but that total package and what it said for the STEM and STEAM abilities, and just to open that took a while to take root. And Prodigy, in all of its various ways, it may take a while for the kids to grow up and have an impact from the show, but some of the social ethical cues that are going on here, dilemmas, may take a while to root, but the diversity and acceptance and the ability to do whatever you can do, and Dal worrying about what he would be seen for when he finally gets to the Federation if he's not on file, and Janeway's reassurance that, I'm going to stick up for the underdog. This show's got a lot of legs. It has far to go. They've committed 40 episodes. So I know in Star Trek terms, in modern terms, that's 20 hours. That's 2 seasons of a live action. But again, just like Lower Decks is machine gunning it at you manically. Prodigy, and that's awesome. Prodigy's style is layering it in until you suddenly wake up and realize how many layers have been layered in. Very subversive. Especially for a century when we're still trying to figure out how streaming storytelling looks. And even though it's got an animation twist and it's in half-hour formats, Prodigy is, it's not just a kid's show, gang. It's not just a kid's show. So I wanted to get that off my chest. Some of this has been because of focusing with Cadet Alice on Prodigy, watching it through her eyes, but also doing a rewatch for my own sanity. And wow, some of what's been picking up is amazing. So what do you think? Jump in the comments here. If you got a question, let me know. If I got something wrong, especially, of course, let me know. But I'd like to see what everybody thinks as we go along. Hey, I'd like to also let you know, speaking of the near future, if you have not done so yet, you want to sign up at my site. There's click-ins. It's coming in November, the 7th anniversary open house. You can get registered now. We haven't announced the mystery guest. We'll be doing that within the week and setting the date for sure. But you can already be in line for not just our open house, where we open the doors of Portal 47, as we do once a year to everybody, public, free of charge, but also we have a mini round table and Ask Dr. Trek. It's kind of like an open mic, and we do giveaways. I've been accumulating some DVDs and other goodies to give away. So you want to wait for that. Be watching LarryNemechek.com. And if you're not already signed up, yes, the newsletter is about to be reborn. If you're not on my news list, you want to be there. Otherwise, I do want to say thank you to our Patreons this week. Boom, Diana Hopkins, Robin Wilson, Lawrence Todd, Anne-Marie Siegel. Thank you for the Murph, Anne-Marie. Keith Rombach, Justin Porteous, Blaze K, Nathaniel Robinson, Andrew Przinski, and Pranakasha Productions. And then our live wires, Rusty Harrell, Hubbard Gunn Johnson, Robert McLean, Alan Hohensi, J.R. Poole, Byron Bailey, Dave Gregory, Gay Clevin Lundstrom, and Casey Shafsky. I say that Patreon, we are moving forward with some bits and pieces. It's simple. Patreon.com/Trekland Live. one of many Patreons you can help out with. Mine is very simple. It's a very simple subscription model. Thanks everybody for your support. $5 and $10 a month for a shout out. And yeah, really, access to our early Portal 47 interviews of Behind the Sage folks. We cap off the week saying it's Tuesday, so that also means it's been a new Trek Files is up. Sean Pillar is back to talk about his dad. I can't believe it's been 17 years since we lost Michael, and a lot of fandom didn't have the chance to know him up close and personal live. He's preserved in a lot of interviews and a lot of video interviews. And it's great to hear Sean talk about him as well as his own experience as a young writer budding up, finding his way with his stepdad, Michael. The Trek Files this week. The documents, of course, are at our Facebook page. You can find it, the audio, any place fine podcasts are caught. And one more reminder about our cruises coming up, for especially for the our Trek tour, especially for the Trek cruise folks in LA next February. The boat leaves from LA this year, not Florida. So why not, coming or going, have a day tour, a special LA away tour, LA away days with us on Trekland Treks. And if that wets your whistle, in July will be our partnered with Geek Nation Tours big 10-day. We haven't done it since 2016. Our 10-day location sites tour in LA and San Francisco with a lot of celebrity guests. These are going to grow with the new year. But yeah, Armin, Tim, Mike, excuse me, and Bobby Clark up there first. Check all of that out. Now, before we take a very short break here, just to say, we'll be back with the parrots. But just to say first, if you're leaving us now because you're watching later on YouTube, please stay healthy. I'm getting my booster and my flu shot later this week. Stay woke. Check the sources. We're about to be flooded with all kinds of innocuous crap, not just the outrageous. Thank you, Elon. So check the sources, kids. And trek well, everybody. We'll see you next week. All right. Again, let's get through. Parrots. I say the parrots. No, it's not the Tiki Room. I say the parrots, meaning Parrot Analytics, company out of New Zealand that's been trying to measure digital originating content for the last 12 or more years all around the world, dozens of countries, because the takeover of the streaming channels kind of makes the broadcast channels in every country a little bit moot. We're finding that out now, obviously. Well, the streamers are winning. They at least won the Emmys here in the US. And they Parrot monitors the internet. They collect what they call the average demand expression, looking at online reaction from fans, from critics, from the studios themselves to promote, and all the retweets and the hubbub, the buzz, basically. Now, they measure that in every week in the US. What's happening the last few months is they've come to not be posting it as often as they used to. It's public. It's at their site under their Insights tab. Nothing special for me. This week, they didn't do their weekly top 10s again. They may be settling into it every 2 weeks. We'll see how that works out. But what it was, I did note that they did update the Star Treks individual. For instance, and I'd wondered if that was happening, even though they're not posting it every week, but this week definitely was. For instance, previously on Parrot Analytics, Lower Decks, just to jump in, and I know we just had the finale of Lower Decks. My non-mention of Lower Decks does not take away from what an awesome finale it was, and we may come back to that finale in the future, or take it up on a second opinion. But last time we checked in, Lower Decks was sitting at 19.5 on their 30-day trend. Still an outstanding show. Just most recently, it's 19.7, so an uptick in the last week that made the 30-day trend actually not tick up, but not drop down as much, if that makes sense. The demand and change over this has been at 13.8 compared to 15.2. So it's cooling, yes, but over a 60-day period, which, it is. Prodigy, the last time we checked in on Prodigy, let me, are we here for, yeah. Last time we checked in on Prodigy, it was sitting at a 12.4. Now, this was just a couple of days after the drop of the premiere, right? Oh, actually, it was on Premiere Eve. Sorry about that. We had doubled up last week. But in the first week of having fresh Prodigy, we've bumped up from 12.4 average demand expression times the average show from 12.4 to 13.1. So there's an uptick. People are talking about Prodigy. It is getting a look. Its trend line is up 14%, 13.9. Yeah, it's doubled or 50% up. It was up 8%, getting ready for the season premiere. Now it's out 13.9. Its trend line has shot way up over the 60 days because of those last two spikes. So good on Prodigy. It's still the baby of the modern Star Trek family in terms of who's watching and paying attention. That's my comment today. The only other series I checked, I looked at Picard just because people still love to buzz about the ships. They love to buzz about the season 3 TNG reunion, what have you. The last time we checked Picard, it was sitting at 20.2 times factor different from an average show, 20.2 with a 7.4% spike up. Now it's at 20.5 and an 8.6 spike up. So dropping as an out of fresh episode show would do, but the rate slowed. And that's a 60-day trend line. So, the factors don't affect it quite as quickly as they do on a 30-day trend. Okay, I'm sorry to get lost in the math weeds there. All that to say that apparently people are talking the popularity of Prodigy is shifting up, and they are computing numbers at Parrot that are affecting those day trends. So even though they're not putting out the top 10, they're compiling the numbers and factoring that into the numbers they put up as the 30 and 60-day trend lines. Whoosh! Okay, let's wake everybody up. I'm going to backtrack, and we'll see what everybody's got for questions today. See you all's here. And hey, everybody, remember, if you're on YouTube and if you're on Twitch, actually, you're seeing everybody's comments. If you're on Facebook, you're only seeing the Facebooks. This Facebook archive is the whole show. YouTube is only the my theme at the first. My theme and closing up till the break. So it's good to see everybody. A lot of folks are back. If you're new, I will try to give you a shout out. And if you're new, give us a shout out, okay? And let us know where you're calling in from around the world on the Sooner Football Network. So good. Yes, Anne Marie, I'm going to yell at you again for thanking you for Alice's Murph, which is staying here, which she was not keen about. I have to hurry up and get her a Gwen when they're available. But thank you. And yeah, subversive in the best way. We're infecting little minds with good thoughts. How subversive can you be? Prodigy does have the smallest audience. Cadet Alice is very smaller than Star. Yeah. We'll check back in about 10 or 15 years and see how she's doing. Thank you, Dave, for remembering everybody on the Twitch side, because we used to have adolescent Twitchers fly through looking for gamers, and they weren't thrilled the fact that I wasn't paying attention to them, and they were a little confused. Yes, thank you, Anne Marie. I'll tell her that, and I think her style is right up there with Gwen's, don't you think? Yes. The JCers are all at home making memes of JC from last week. Yeah. Tobias, one day Cadet Alice will rank up and outrank Dr. Trek. Well, I hope so. Otherwise, what is all this for, huh? Right. This is what I've also been saying, Nathaniel. Wait until the protostar, the proto engine, the proto core of Nickelodeon kicks in on this show. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And as I said, the head of Nickelodeon and animation at the newly engorged Paramount Global, who is now in, Brian says, while we're gaggling around over a live action movie, why not do an animated movie with Prodigy? Exactly. First Twitch comment before the YouTube comment. Oh, let's hope not. Let's hope not. By season 7, Dr. Trek will be a guest on Alice's show. Yes. Yeah. By the time Prodigy gets around to season 7, yeah, we'll all be about 3 decades older. Well, May, you are in a very big club. Mm-hmm. Let's see. Oh, thank you. Well, you're welcome, Melanie. Thanks to Jared for Saturday, everybody. Some of the Life Support Live veterans had a Zoomy chatty thing. So thank you, Jared, for doing that. There were about, what, 10 or 12 of us there? Yeah. 23rd century gardening. Oh, for your gardening. Yes. Uh-huh. Okay, everybody. I am looking. Yes, that's what it was. Ensign Talin shows up as a Maquis. How is that working? Provisional pips. Now I want to know if provisional pips existed before Janeway created them, or Tuvok. Somebody on Voyager created them for the Maquis, or was that existing already? I also want to know if a Starfleet, any cases on film of a Starfleet officer excluding people from an escape pod in clearly a fatal situation, mortal endangerment. Okay, Marina. Well, I was saying he was cosplaying Maquis right before they arrived. This gets back to my question. Apparently, this is true now. I'm just saying, did they exist before we saw them on Voyager for the case of the Maquis? That's all I'm saying. All I'm saying. Obviously, they're exploding in our consciousness. But all these explosions to Lynn and here, they're all still after the fact of seeing them pop up way back in 2371, right? 64, 65, 66, 67, 68, 69, 70. Yes. Or 70. Didn't have him go spiky face. Well, yeah. Okay. He's not a gardener. He's a garden counselor. Yeah. Very true. Very true. I really don't think, Michael, I don't think Starfleet and its officers see a one-off dude. Now, there would be check-ins and there would be plenty of things to keep him occupied, but there are lots of folks who thrive. I feel like we're doing a Life Support Live episode again. Lots of folks who would thrive. Lots of introverts who would adore that kind of assignment, right? Well, are you now, Michael? Let's not broad brush this. Are you stereotyping Denobulans? I mean, he could be the one off that doesn't, he could be the. Oh, I'm trying to think of the elf on Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer. Herbie. He could be the Herbie of Denobulans, right? He could have used. Yes, Michael, this is my new headcanon. Riker entered the Design the New Com Badge contest. Yeah, and used Barash's design. The Janeways? Yes. Well, there's two of them there. It's going to get... Yeah, that was even funnier to me the second time, Marina. I think I got it mentioned today. Yeah. There's something very off about Barney the Denobulant. Yeah. Has anybody else saw Barnus Frex and said Barney Fife? I don't know. It just hit me this morning, actually. Minded you of it? No. Brian, he is nowhere near Edward from The Trouble with Edward. Nowhere near. He was functional. He was not delusional. He was functional. He just avoided some of the bureaucracy, but he did all of his duty. The only thing that struck me weird was him not, of course, we needed it for the plot, but him not letting them in the escape pod. I don't let criminals in. Well, if they're all about to die, it just seemed a little extra cruel. And I'm going to chalk it up to him being young. Mm-hmm. Oh, the Doctor on Voyager in the Year of Hell. Yeah. Unless you want to say that somewhere some of his programming, his ethical subroutines. See, guys, I am not putting Barney anywhere near on an Edward level. Did I just stir up some controversy? Who was worse? Yeah. No. Yeah. Good point here. Good point, Barbara. And hello. I think you've been with us on a Tuesday before, Barbara, right? If not, welcome, but I think you've joined us before. But thank you. The notion that stories written for children are somehow less or not worthy is quite short-sighted. There's nothing wrong making a fundamentally great story accessible and appropriate for children and consider it just as much for adults. Yes. And if we need any example, even in Star Trek, you need look no further than Yesteryear. Oh my God. The only animated series pointed to for years, or at least like shamelessly. Nobody contested Yesteryear for ages when people wanted to argue about that kind of thing. Good point. It's not a show for kids, it's a show about kids in extraordinary circumstances. And Lower Decks is definitely adult. Yeah, it's at least an Adult Swim. It's at least a teenagers and older. Interesting point here, Nathaniel. A show for kids tells different stories in different ways than a show for adults. Kids show's not a modification or simplification of an adult show. I think we're seeing that. Yes, they can be very clever and artful on their own merits. You can think of many shows you watched with your son that you consider among the best TV you've ever seen. And Time Amuck was great inspirational TV about that adult TV rarely does. It was. Plus, it was just a damn good sci-fi metaphor that I was, oh my God. And the graphic, I said this before, I don't ever remember seeing a Star Trek graphic explain the wacky sci-fi concept in the show, as well as Time Amuck's graphic did. And Aaron Walke even tweeted out how they inserted that graphic in the script as which never happens, just so everybody got because once you made it visual, you totally got what was happening. Before and after, further, yeah, both ways. Well, the Cadet Alice episode for number 1 is up. It is up. Quite quiet. You mean here on our chat room? It does seem. Yeah. I did. Thank you, Christoph, reminded me, and I did post that we're in our summertime. We're still in summertime. You're not. And then after next Sunday, we'll be back in sync. You've gone off of summertime. We're still on our daylight savings time. Now what? Oh, a question. Hello, Odigwo. Odiug83. I'm butchering your name, but I'm glad you're with us, and I know that you're new. At least you're new on YouTube with us. Germany again. Did I choose Tuesdays for Trekland because of generations? No, I'll tell you why I did. I wanted alliteration, which meant either Trekland Tuesdays or Trekland Thursdays. And if I'm traveling for a con, it's usually on Thursdays. So I thought Tuesday would be less disruptive. Now, if I'd gone with Thursdays in 2017, not knowing that eventually Thursday would be debut day, then every Thursday would turn into talk about the new show if it aired, of whatever series in the US, which would be a spoiler to the Europeans. So I'm just glad that we went with Tuesday, and I can second opinion something if I need to say something hot. That's why I like to kind of sit back and find something that's not just the hot headline story. I have ways to address that. But no, that's the story. But it's fun. It's fun to do the Tuesdays joke. And you saw the Halloween costume sack, the Captain Harriman costume, out of stock till Tuesday. Oh, Barbara, here's where you're going to embarrass me because the things are so tiny here. Yay. In fact, I've probably done it already. No, Time Amok was episode 8, right before the finale of the first section of Prodigy, as someone's probably already told you. Prepare for temporal displacement on November 6th at 0200 in most U.S. times. Yeah, I had to double think there for a second, Mel. I thought you were talking about the election. Oh, no. Linda. During a break, your battery is as tired as your husband. Well, I hope you can get it summed up. Yeah. Christoph, you've turned into our weekly barker for Allegiance in London, but I'm happy to do it. Yay. I'm envious of everybody in London getting to see it because I should have gone and saw it out of town rehearsals in San Diego, but we didn't. Switching to LDS. Latter-day Saints, we're going to talk about the Mormons now? What is this? How much of an afterthought was the Mariner-Jennifer romance? It seems like the series has moved away from that and it was not very present during the season. Well, if you remember, it came up at the end of a season and then they didn't want to, I think they didn't want, somewhere between, they didn't want to make that be everything that the show revolved around for Mariner. They might not have wanted to step on the toes of what Discovery continues to do with representation. Not that we can't have same-sex couples on every Star Trek, that's just Discovery's territory. But I think with a 23-minute format and all the things they still want to do to bust out this world, and with all the characters to service, I'm just thinking that it's, and Mariner doesn't seem like the type to stick with anybody. It's still hard for me to see Mariner being serious about any one person of any kind. Still. But it is what it is. Yeah, Prodigy episode. You want to see Allegiance? Well, I apparently go to London now. Hey, Narda, I'm glad you made it. Narda, you made it just in time to see the end. No, you're not paid by George Takei. I didn't say that. Yeah, it has been kind of quiet today, gang. People are recovering from Halloween here in the States. I don't know. I had the announcers out there, better than the last couple of weeks. Anyway, lots going on here. I guess that's the end of our chat. Yay. Did I thank you for the validation about Prodigy? I mean, that's I'm still, so I guess the doctors, I'm going to go back and watch that scene again because I'd forgotten it. Of course, that was Year of Hell is a bunch of alternate realities thought to be real at the time. But I'm really trying to think in non-reset button terms, have we ever seen it? Because a piece of me, especially if it was Lower Decks, maybe not so much on Prodigy, but a piece of me just wonders if we've seen the last of Barnes Flex. Barnes Flex. He has the most muscular Barnes in the galaxy. If that's going to happen, anyway. That really, of all that episode, that really kind of bugged me. That really stayed with me. But then again, Prodigy's tackling some tough terms. So I guess we're at the end of the chat, gang. That's it for Tuesday. I hope I got you thinking. I hope we'll spread a little bit. And hey, you know, the YouTubers live won't see this, but maybe we'll get some comment there too. And I hope everybody goes over and checks out Cadet Alice and I talking Prodigy. It'll probably be a while before we can get the next episode, but we got all of the first half season and we got the premiere. Asylum is the actual name of the episode. We got Asylum covered, so it's such a hoot doing that with her. She's so smart and has no fear of expressing herself. So once again, I'm just going to put it out there, coming up for everybody watching. If you're cruising, the LA away days, special dates, 23rd and March 3rd, the day before and the day after the actual cruise. If you want to do some locations, some kind of an intro to Locations 101. We're hitting all the greatest hits. You can check it out at my page, larrynimachek.com. Also, the link for the big tour, 10 days, LA and San Francisco with Terrace at Geek Nation Tours in July. It's a standalone event. Doesn't lead into any convention this time. Haven't done it since 2016. So I'm looking forward to that. You know, in both these groups, we have a max of 18 on the away days. And it's about the same for the big 10-day. These are not big groups because we limit it to one bus size. We don't like to have more than one bus going. That means I have to split up or the two of us have to split up and not be live with everybody all the time. So we limit it. But then again, we do need like 10 people to make. So it's really interesting. Again, the Trek Files is up. We've got Sean Pillar, Michael Pillar's son, stepson actually, but he raised him in the way of the writer, and he raised him in the way of the Michael Pillar writing style, which was heavily influenced by Star Trek, and Sean talks about that. I have to get Sean as a guest for Portal 47, which would be kind of a new vibe, but we can't get Michael on, and I'd like to do that. Hey everybody, once again, thanks to all of our Patreons, and once again, if you missed it at the beginning, our live wires and our TTL club, if you want to jump in, it's a new month. They bill us at the end of the month, $5, $10, a very simple Patreon reward system, patreon.com/TreklandLive. You might see somebody else you want to help support as a subscription or as a one-off project. Most of all, I know I'm getting down to the wire on this, but all of you in our orbit, you can go register right now. Go to larrynimachek.com. There's a link to go get in because you need to claim a ticket special, even if you're on my list already, and get ready for the newsletter to come back after an 8-month lapse. But we're going to announce the guest here in the next few days and the date for sure, and you want to be there pre-Thanksgiving. That's going to do it for me today. Kind of a quiet Tuesday, yeah, but we're heading into, what is this, the calm before the storm? It's the Prodigy time of year, which is unfair, but that's happening. And we're heading into the holidays. Maybe people are a little distracted. Football is winding along. I don't know. The World Series is out there. Whatever's happening, whatever's going on in Europe, lots is happening. So as always, I appreciate everybody being with me here on Tuesdays live. Spread the word. And of course, like and subscribe YouTube if you haven't done that, and share our YouTubes. Share Cadet Alice if you want to do something really cute and helpful for humanity. And with that, gang, I'll just say, please, we'll see you next Tuesday. I'll be on the road, but I'll be here Tuesday. And yeah, just, stay healthy, do all the things, stay woke, check your sources, and trek well, everybody.